Hey, Coach, just kind of wanted to get your opinions on coming back to Clune Arena for the first time in 16, 17 years? Probably a little bit different reception than you would have liked, but overall impressions of your first game back. And I'll follow up after that.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, in normal times, which hopefully we'll have one, again soon here. I think it could have been a really good environment for that first home game back. That being said, the most important thing was playing a game at home, having our players be able to play, have it be at home, and like we said, start to try to establish a home court advantage. And I thought we did that. I thought we played hard. We played the way you have to start to establish that kind of identity. And, it's good to get a win. And, we're going to have another one here hopefully in 2 weeks after we go on the road for 3. But again, we're just going to look to try to build game to game as we have a hard one coming up here Sunday. We're going to learn more about our team, and then we keep going forward. And, hopefully when we get another home game the 23rd, we'll be ready to go on that day too.
You talk about building an identity and, 2-1 after 3 games. What kind of identity are you kind of looking to build here as we go through the season?
Well, I think the identity here has to be that we're going to be really tough. We're going to be really hard-nosed. We're going to play to win all the time. We're going to know what that means for us. We're going to make sure the other team knows that every time they come in our building. And, the first step is doing that, being consistent in doing it, sort of making the other team suffer a little bit, not letting them play the way that they want to play, making them play the way you want them to play. And, that's advantage, us, it's advantage Air Force. And then part 2 is learning how to take advantage of that advantage, so it's a process. And first is the consistency of sort of that level of intensity required with the knowledge of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that goes to knowing how you're going to win. And I think our guys are learning that, and they've done a pretty good job of it the first 3 games.
Yeah, Joe, what are the travel arrangements to Drake?
We're flying. We leave early Saturday morning, and we fly home right after the game. So it's about as short a trip as you can possibly make it. It's a 1:00 game. We get in there at, say, 12:30. We got to practice at the arena at 2. We'll be in our hotel from then on out, and game time's at 1. And we're on a plane right after the game back home, flying back. So it's about as quick a trip, I think, a road trip as you could possibly make it. And we just got to make sure our guys do a really good job of following all the protocols and being really safe. And we just got to continue to harp on that and follow through on that.
Because it is semi-regional, was there ever a thought to just busing it and not flying?
I don't think that's a long bus trip, right? I mean, what do you know? Do you know what it is? 9?
About 9, I would think.
Yeah, we did think about it. I thought about that. I thought about that when we started to go make the Vegas trip. Like, okay, how's this going to go? And that was 10. I think those thoughts are always there. Like I said, I think we've done a pretty good job and are very cognizant, and our players are, and our staff is, and we just got to make sure we do that again on this trip. But we're going to have to be like that for the whole season. When we go to Boise, we're really going to have our A games on that so that we're able to keep playing these games.
Earlier in the preseason, I'm going to kind of paraphrase here. You said that a lot of the guys returning obviously played minutes, but none of them played in positions where they were counted on for the team to be successful. So obviously just a few games in, but do you see any guys filling those roles? And what have you just kind of seen from them? And who do you think those guys could be?
Well, I think at the time I was talking about the senior, like Chris Joyce, he's played games. Keaton Van Solen's played games. Those were the 2 main guys. Obviously, A.J. Walker has played a lot of games. So those were the 3 main guys, and sort of, going from, in 2 of their cases, sort of real role players off the bench. Don't know how consistent, they were counted upon minutes-wise or every single game. Obviously, A.J. was. to a greater extent. But what you see is when, the responsibility level of each person's different in their ability to handle it, accept it, embrace it, grow with it. And I think right now you've seen Chris Joyce and Keaton really do a good job with that. And I think the more that they do that, we might catch more glimpses and get more consistency then out of Amika, who's older, who's stronger. And obviously, I think AJ, in his own way, it's different from going from being, say, a third guy or, whatever he was, to now being really counted upon, as the other team knows that. They have scouting reports, and, you go to being the marked man where they're really zeroing in on you, and that's a learned process for him. But the more Chris and Keaton do what they're doing, the more I know AJ's going to, really step up his game here as we keep going on. He's played well, but I know it's going to get better and better. But a big part of that is having Keaton and Chris keep doing what they're doing. And if you get that, then you see a freshman like Glenn McClintock be able to poke his head out and be able to make a contribution. And, that's why it's a team game, and we stress that. And hopefully we're going to get consistency in that area, because if we do, then we'll get an answer and finding, who's going to be that eighth guy, or have Abe Kinraid come along to be a solid guy for us. And then is a Mason, Taylor going to keep coming along? Is a Joe Octave, another freshman, going to be able to poke his head out? That all really depends upon how consistent those other guys that we started with are able to play on a day in, day out basis.
Do you find that Chris and Keaton are really kind of embracing more of a leadership role and then more of a workload role this year?
There's no question. I think one of the benefits was being here in the summer, probably for the only time and first time in Academy history to have those guys here under the circumstances. And I think early on, I was able to address this, this issue. That a big part of our ability to move forward was going to be on those guys' ability to understand, what that actually means, and then sort of embrace it and really just zero in on what it is I'm asking them to do and how we want them to play. And, I think you've seen some consistency from them the first three games, and Sunday's going to present our biggest challenge to date with that. And hopefully you're going to see from them, at Drake, that they're playing with that same, they're playing like seniors, basically, is what we're talking about. And if we see them playing like seniors, then that's going to help everybody else on the team.
Hi, Coach. Question on Glenn McClintock. It looks like he's got a really good feel for the game, obviously coming off a couple of good games. What do you think has been the key to help him transition so quickly here in year number one?
Well, I think a lot of it is his makeup, his mental makeup. He really, like you said, he's got a feel for the game. He's got a sense for the game, just as important, or goes hand in hand with that. He's a real competitor. He's got a high motor, just third game out to go play 40 minutes the other game, in your third game in college says a lot about him. And then I do think my answer to the last question plays into it. A guy like Glenn, who's a freshman, if AJ and Keaton and Chris are being real solid and doing their jobs and playing well, that really makes a big difference in having Glenn be out there, being comfortable playing. And, I think that was that's the formula to then have Amika be in another role and have him come out and be able to make those contributions. And, it's worked that way. We'll see again on Sunday. It's definitely going to be a bigger challenge, but a lot of the credit just goes to Glenn and his makeup and his approach and his focus on what's important in basketball. He plays to win. I mean, he's got great sense, like you say. He's got nose for the ball. He's tough. All the attributes that are about winning, not necessarily about he can do this, he can do that. No, he just plays basketball, and he's a good basketball player, and he helps his team win.
Follow-up question on the schedule. So after Drake, obviously you guys dive into conference play against Nevada. with the way it's structured, 2-game series, 3 days to get them in. Talk about if that's an advantage, disadvantage for you guys kind of going forward with 5 at home and then 5 on the road as far as the series go.
Yeah, I don't really know it's a great question. I think that's really going to be, up for grabs, advantage who in that situation. Obviously, advantage home team. We always know that. Different environment, though, this year, as you can watch, say Duke lose a couple of games. I mean, there's no crazies. There's no home court advantage per se anymore. But you still have to give the home team that advantage. But then when you talk about 2 games in 3 days, same team, it's going to be interesting. I like I said earlier in another question I was asked, it's really going to come down to, I think, consistency. It's going to come down to a level of toughness to be able to play 2 games and 3 games against the same team, almost like a playoff series, in basketball. And, does the other team know you that well? And are they able to then really focus in on it and do it 2 days later? They might know you well, but do they have the wherewithal to go out and do it? And it's going to be interesting. I know for us, it's just going to be, we're going to have to be able to play and be ready to play that tough for 40 minutes. And it doesn't matter for us, Nevada on the road, Utah State at home. You can say any team in this league, and for us, it's the same challenge every single time we step on the court. We got to embrace that. We got to know that. And then we got to be ready to fight like you can't believe to play to win that game.
After the game Saturday, I know you stressed you weren't concerned about AJ on the offensive end. Is there anything in this 8-day gap between games that you've been able to identify and maybe change to help get him going?
I actually went back, Brent, and watched the film, and AJ played, he played really, really well. In the first, he played really, really well, but going back and watching, I was impressed with the first 15 minutes of the game. He threw some beautiful passes off of making the plays we want him to make, and the ball didn't go in. But again, his defense was really good. I think there's going to be a big benefit as we keep going along of he and Glenn learning how to play with each other and benefit from each other. And it's just going to be a little bit of that growth process that way. But, I was really happy with how he played. And I think we stressed the last time we talked about his scoring. As I say that, his scoring is always going to involve the other guys because he's such a good passer. But I do know when we practice every day, he's one of our top 2 shooters. So as we go through these games, he's going to have to learn to deal with having the other team's best player, defender on him possibly every game. Chris is going to start to see that too, obviously. Those are new experiences that you got to be ready for every game. And then as that's a new maybe experience, I do want to see AJ shooting the ball. I mean, when we practice, he makes shots. It's a variety of shots, but I'd like to just see his comfort level and really, when the game's over, I'd like to see AJ with, 10 shots, 12 shots, because I know they're going to be good ones. I know that if someone's open, he'll share it with them. But again, I think that's part of this process. But I know he's unbelievably receptive and he's working really, really hard. So when you combine those two things, good things start to happen, and they start to happen, pretty quickly. So I'm expecting that from him here over the next few games.
And then scouting Drake, this early in the season, they're playing a lot of guys. So their stats looks like 11, 12 guys are seeing the floor. Is that pretty complicated to try to get a scouting report on those guys when there's only a few games to really look at? Yeah,
I think part of it, I think they are doing that right now. But, I know 2 of them have been against D2s or D3s, and the games have been a little lopsided. So, I think their stats are can be a little deceiving right now. I know they have a main 7 to 8 guys. They have a good point guard. They have 2 guys who are really good 3-point shooters, and then they have these other sort of veteran guys that might not be 3-point shooters, but they're sort of energy guys and glue guys, and they just have a good team. I think they won 20 games last year. and they have a veteran team. They're well coached. So, I think we're going to be well prepared in that regard. It's just going to be coming off of finals. Are we going to be ready to go on the road and face, pretty much a Mountain West caliber type opponent? I mean, Missouri Valley, Mountain West. I mean, Drake's a good team. It's a real good challenge for us, and I know it's going to prepare us for the first two on the road at Nevada.
Coach, the defensive activity and energy against Lamar was very high. What's the key to taking that on the road against a team, as you said, in Drake, that's scored a lot, but maybe not done it against quite the caliber of opponents that they're going to face with you guys?
I mean, the key is just the consistency. The key is just knowing that, home, away, neutral, league, non-league, we have to know that we play the same way all the time. And that's how we do play. That's how we practice. And we do it that way so that when we go to Drake, our guys know they have, one job to do: play the way we play. Be locked in, be zeroed into whatever that scouting report is. However, we need to play our defense, whatever the points of emphasis are, out of our defense for the game. And then as we continue to go forward, going on the road sometimes, we just got to be really executing our half-court offense. But that starts with our ability to stop the other team. And I think what I've been happy about, it's part of defense, but, knock on wood, we've been battling on the boards, and we're going to have to do that. That's got to be a staple for us. It's got to be 5 guys. Every time a shot goes up, we're not going to have one guy that's getting double-digit rebounds a game. We got to be a 5-man. Every guy go after the ball, rebounding team, and I think we've done a good job of that, and I know that's going to be really, really important on Sunday.
And just a quick follow-up, Coach, how will finals week affect your preparation for the trip out there?
Well, I mean, finals, the effect will just be obviously here our finals are demanding. We've had guys with 4 finals. We were able last night to get in. Most of them guys were done to get in and just run up and down and get a sweat, and which was good for them. And today will be our, all our guys are finishing up right now or just finished up. So today will be our first, quote unquote, real practice, and we'll have 3 of them, and that's got to be what it's got to be prepared, and that's the way it goes, and we're going to be prepared, and we'll do a good job, I think, as a staff to make sure we're fresh for Sunday, because sometimes I've gotten better with this through the years coming out of finals. I got to make sure they're fresh. We got to have 3 crisp, hard practices, really know what the game plan is, and it's time to play Sunday at 1:00. So that's going to be the game plan here over the next 3 days.
Coach, just wondering if you have any more discussions with Denver about rescheduling that game. Is it still going to be a possibility? Where are we at with that?
Yeah, I mean, we have had conversations. It's all going to be dependent upon just breaks in each other's schedule. I know with us, if nothing goes wrong, then I don't know if we have any breaks in our schedule to be able to pull it off. And I'd, without knowing their schedule, I'd be willing to say the same. Now, that being said, if something goes awry somewhere with one of our opponents down the road and it matches up with an opening in their schedule, then we're going to try to see if we can, reschedule it. If not, then we're just going to have to move it to next year and, play it next year. But we'll work throughout the season to identify if there's an opportunity to reschedule it.